Hello, everyone.
Hey Prince, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I am good. I am good. It is pretty
Welcome.
hot today.
It is. And we're welcoming everyone to our newest session in our Pietra webinars. Let's give it a couple of minutes for folks to trickle in, and then we can get started.
Perfect.
For those of you returning and have attended our webinars before, welcome back. My name is Prince. I'm joined here with my colleagues Tyler and Hasan from the Pietra team. For those new, welcome for the first time. Should we give it 1 to 2 more minutes and then we can kick things off as a few more folks trickle in?
Yeah, I think so. See some more folks trickling in. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining Prince, Hasan, and myself to discuss SEO and AEO, some fancy terms for increasing your brand's visibility online at minimal to zero cost. We'll get started in just a minute here. As always, keep the chat active. Thanks for saying hello and letting us know where you're from, folks. Love to see Jennifer from Wisconsin, my home state. Give us a shout. Hasan's going to be moderating the Q&A and highlighting any questions for us. We'll, of course, answer those as we go or as they fit into the content we're going to be sharing with you today. Prince will be driving a great conversation for our audience today. Provide some insight on how search engines decide what to show at the top of their results and how that applies to this new agentic internet that we're all using, and some simple changes you may be able to make to increase the visibility of your brand at minimal cost, zero cost in some cases.
Cool. And I believe if I look at the attendee registration, the first name that's here, I don't know if that's an L or an I, but there may be an AI amongst us that's listening in on today's webinar. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Why don't we go ahead and kick things off, guys, just in the interest of time. So Hasan or Tyler, want to share over our deck and our slides, and then we can go from there. Cool. Wonderful. Alrighty, team. Well, welcome again, everyone. And thanks so much for joining our newest webinar series, Visibility in the AI World and How Pietra Can Help. So as mentioned, my name is Prince. I'm joined here by my colleagues Tyler and Hasan. We respectfully spend our times across the product and go-to-market teams here at Pietra. And today we're going to be chatting about the topic that has kind of been the forefront of almost every conversation in the world of e-commerce, which is what is the role that AI plays in e-commerce. And today we're specifically going to be focusing on the topmost part of the funnel, so around search and discovery, and how consumers more and more are finding brands through systems like ChatGPT, which if you are not smart about right now, can very quickly become a huge source of demand and revenue generation for your business that you can miss, or if you are smart about, can become a zero CAC way of generating revenue and acquiring customers for your brand. And so today we're going to share with you latest tips and tricks and actually get pretty technical into the weeds of how visibility in the AI world works and how Pietra can actually help make your brand more prominent in the AI ecosystem. So that's where we're going to kick things off. Hasan, Tyler, anything to add in here?
No, excited for the discussion today.
Okay, wonderful. So before we even get started, I actually wanted to run a poll for the audience. And so I'm going to actually start a poll. And what I just want to get a sense of, if everyone can take a look there and click, what is everyone's AI of choice here? You know, where do you guys go for the different pieces of work that you guys are doing, be it searching, typing in, generating content, generating videos, images? Are you guys ChatGPT users? Are you Gemini users? Are you Claude users? Do you guys use Perplexity? What do we have in front of us for those who are in the audience? Okay, it seems like ChatGPT is in the lead. A few more in Gemini. No one here uses Claude. No one here uses Perplexity. We are primarily ChatGPT users. It's totally okay if so. Okay, wonderful. Why don't we stop the poll? Super helpful to understand, and that's kind of the first question that'll shape part of this conversation. And maybe a second question that I would love to actually ask folks is, oops, let me actually remove this from the stream. A second question that I would love to ask folks, and we can actually do this with just a really quick yes or no, is how many folks here, and please just drop a message in the chat, how many folks have actually tried to buy something using ChatGPT? Have you guys actually gone in and either tried to search for a product, search for your own product, search for another product via one of these AI systems, and just drop a quick message in the chat? Yes, no, maybe so. What is it that you guys use? Tyler, Hasan, have you guys shopped via ChatGPT, or have you guys come across products via any of your LLMs?
It's funny. I work at an e-commerce tech company, and I don't do that much online shopping in general. So I'm a no on that.
I think they describe this as knowing how the sausage is made, right? When you have the inside view. Okay, so we've got a couple of different answers here. So folks, the purpose of today's conversation, again, is just to educate the audience a little bit about, what is changing in the world of e-commerce search and discovery for emerging brands, and how you can actually kind of best position yourself to take advantage of it. So let's go back over to the deck, Hasan or Tyler, if you guys are able to pull that back up. So let's start here, guys. I think everyone on this call is probably familiar with this concept of SEO, right? And we have this quick slide here that just takes us through the history of how search has worked. So for those of you who, kind of remember, back in the pre-2000s, search was driven by channels like Yahoo and Alta Vista. These were traditional search engines where they indexed the internet. You typed in a response and they tried to get you the best answer based on some algorithm that they thought was the right way to give you an answer. And then in the 2000s, Google, Bing, and a few others started to emerge. Obviously, Google is kind of the most prominent, under the premise of keyword backlink strength. So the entire kind of hypothesis or thesis behind Google was, hey, if there's 10 other websites that point to your website in reference for something, when someone says, what is the best skincare product? What is the best running shoe? What is the best cosmetics product for ABCXYZ? We will uprank your website based on the number of other websites that point to yours. And so that is the entire concept of backlinks. And so over time, what Google ended up doing is they actually exposed or opened up their black box of this is how Google search works, and created an ad network out of it. Of course, I'm sure many of you, if not everyone on this call, probably spends money on Google Ads. Over time, other social networks like Facebook, Meta, etc., also started to do the same. But Google basically said, this is how you can rank better. And so there emerged this entire world of SEO, or search engine optimization, right? When someone types in best vacation in Italy for a family of 4, how do you make sure that a hotel shows up? And when someone types in best melatonin for people who have insomnia, how do you make sure that your brand shows up? And so traditional SEO techniques that were used were everything from keyword stuffing, so reverse engineering what is it that people are searching for and trying to expose your brand surface area to those search results, to generating content, blogs, articles, guest posts that would reference your site. News articles, PR was a great way of up ranking in SEO. And that is how the internet predominantly worked. And then, of course, as we all know, about 3 years ago, the world kind of changed with the introduction of ChatGPT, very quickly followed by Gemini, Perplexity, and this whole host of other AI systems, or LLMs, large language models, as they're formally called. And what these systems basically said was, guys, look, this has gone too far. There is now more slop on the internet than not. And consumers no longer actually trust the hierarchy or ranking of search results. And we, ChatGPT, are going to create a more objective way of showing and highlighting objectively correct or incorrect answers for certain things. And so what ChatGPT basically said was, look, we are going to come up with our own set of heuristics or criteria of what products to show when someone says, hey, what are the best melatonin gummies for me, someone who is, suffers from insomnia, and we will surface that product or those products. So this is kind of how the world sort of evolved, and how we went from SEO into this new world of search engines to what we call answer engines, which is what ChatGPT Perplexity is, right? How do you get the objective right answer for the question that you're asking? So Tyler, Hasan, if we can go to the next slide. Cool. So what has kind of happened very, very rapidly is over the last 2 years, huge segments of consumer search behavior have started actually moving from ChatGPT to other systems. Very quickly, from Google search into these other systems like ChatGPT. So very quickly, consumers that historically might have gone into Google to search for, best products for certain occasions or for certain use cases are now turning to systems like ChatGPT to try and figure out and find your product and to actually discover your product. So sometimes this happens through the form of branded search, where someone says, hey, what is the best Harry's razor to buy for men between the age of 28 and 38? And sometimes it is unbranded search, right? Where it says, hey, I am, struggling with, I actually spoke to a brand earlier today who I believe is on the webinar. I'll give them a shout out. I'm struggling with, dry scalp or psoriasis on my head. What is the best natural Ayurvedic shampoos or conditioners or hair care products to try? And do make sure that your brand shows up even for those unbranded search terms. And so this is kind of where we're moving towards, and this new world. And so the practice of how you rank better in this new world is what is being called AEO, or answer engine optimization. So the equivalent of what search engine optimization was for search engines, we are entering into this new world of AEO, or answer engine optimization, for this new form of search and discovery. Tyler, if you can go to the next slide, or Hasan, if you're able to go to the next slide, please. So this is kind of, again, where we are, and maybe let's go one more slide forward. Hasan, Tyler, if we go one more slide. Amazing. So this is kind of where, sorry, go back one, please. This is where we are, folks, in kind of this timeline of the world. And so what we actually wanted to go through today is actually show a couple of real examples. So these are not, fake examples. These are truly real examples of how this is mattering more and more. And so I can give actually a personal example. For me personally, I obviously, grow facial hair. And I've been looking, or have been in the market for a new razor, because I get a lot of ingrown hairs and like razor bumps on my neck every time I've shaved. And so I've actually just stopped shaving, and instead I've, turned to trimming my facial hair for the last couple of years. So I was actually looking up just the other day, best razors for men with sensitive skin. I keep getting ingrown hairs and razor bumps every time I shave. And I wanted to see what would come up. And so actually the first couple of results that came up were Gillette and Schlick, both of which are, really well-known razor brand companies. And I actually saw the Gillette option, and I thought to myself, hey, this is pretty funny. We have a Gillette product, right, which is probably one of the best known brands of the world, where the first result that is highlighted is not actually a Gillette result. It is actually the first result that's highlighted is a completely different third-party experience. And so, Tyler, if you click on the next slide, what I actually went through is to try and validate, hey, is this actually correct? So if you type this exact same Gillette product into Google and you search for the Gillette product, what you found is it's a completely wrong price point. It's probably not the exact same sets of product imagery. Product imagery is being pulled on this LLM's PDP from a completely different channel. And so you can imagine if you were a Gillette, you would be pretty upset that your brand is not being represented in the right way that you intend for it to be. And so the thing that I would just kind of encourage the audience is like, look, Gillette is a multi-billion-dollar company that I believe sits under the Procter & Gamble P&G umbrella. If Gillette is struggling with brand identity and making sure that its brand is up to date and accurate across all these different channels like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, what does that mean for you guys as an emerging starter sort of challenger brand, and how does that work? And so I wanted to give one more example that wasn't just for a big company. Let's go to the next slide, please. Another great example is one of our customers here at Pietra and Factor Quality, which is kind of a joint entity, is a brand called Canopy. And so Canopy, if you go to getcanopy.co, is a new kind of challenger brand, just a couple-year-old brand that was meant to disrupt the massive humidifier and diffuser market, and to reposition a humidifier for the first time as not just a household appliance, but as a health and wellness product. And so it's summer here in New York. It's getting really hot at night. I did another search that says, hey, every time I wake up, when I turn the AC on, my throat hurts. I've heard that I need a humidifier. Just what's the best humidifier for this, right? And these are keywords that Canopy otherwise tries to rank on. And so you can see here, this is actually a great example where Canopy actually does accurately show up as kind of the first entity. It's got a good set of PDP images. The brand is probably pretty accurately represented in this new search and discovery channel, which are these LLMs. But if you go to the next slide, actually, Tyler and Hasan, what you can see is the price point here that they want to kind of put their best foot forward with is actually not the right price point. So Canopy, they've optimized their sort of e-commerce experience and their commerce checkout to say, hey, look, we want to start by offering the customer a bundle, not just an independent, isolated product. And so that is not represented accurately in the LLM as well. And so these are just a couple of examples, guys, of like how this new form of search and discovery is becoming ever more important, but how there's often wrong representation of a brand, and how you might not be covering the surface area you want to cover. And our entire kind of goal of this, webinar today is to say, look, this is why this is relevant, and then this is how you can actually fix this. And we'll give you a couple of tactical examples, and we'll actually show you how a few Pietra tools that we've built can actually help you in the process of fixing up large parts of your digital presence and representation across these LLMs. So let me just pause there for a quick second. Tyler, Hasan, any questions from you guys on behalf of the audience, or any questions from the audience directly? Kellyanne, I know, said so interesting. Yes. Any questions, folks? Please do drop questions into this chat, drop Q&A into this chat.
None specifically, but I am noticing that, we're getting fewer questions from the audience today. And I think that might be because this is a newer topic for folks. And I think one thing that's helpful when becoming familiar with a new topic is to just get accustomed to new vocabulary words, right? So curious, Prince, what are some of the new acronyms, vocabulary words that folks who are completely new to this should become accustomed to using, or do a little bit of, research as homework after this webinar?
Yeah. Of course. Can you actually click one step back here, Tyler? And let's go to the previous slide. Let's actually go to the one more back. Yep, this is perfect. Let's go one forward. Sorry, one right before this. And I'm so sorry.
There's a delay.
No problem. One actually even before this. Great. So here's a couple of different terms, folks, that I'm sure many of you know, but are really pertinent. So for example, everyone hopefully has heard of the concept of LLMs, right? So again, the entire term of LLMs, which is what is used to describe ChatGPT, Anthropic's Claude, etc., stands for large language models. The entire premise of these are models that have been trained on the set of information on the internet, the entirety of the internet, and have been trained to be taught in a very specific way. And so these LLMs, when they started, they were first trained on just the corpus of the internet. And over time, and so every 6 months, these LLM companies would have to re-download the internet and retrain these systems. Now, what actually happens is these LLMs actually have access to the internet, and so that's something that's really important, or it's a really important, concept for people to be aware of. Is that LLMs now are not just static, but they are actually dynamic. They can actually, read and pull the entirety of kind of the internet. The second question is, so A in AEO, great question, Judy. So the A stands for answer engine optimization. So again, if SEO was search engine optimization, think of these new systems as AEO, as answer engines instead of search engines. So now AL or AI, I am actually not sure which one it is. This goes to the next question. So is SEO going away, or is it just moving to a lesser position behind AEO? Again, great question. The answer to this is, I don't think SEO is completely gone, but what you are finding is even within Google is having an existential sort of moment right now where the traditional Google model of surfacing ads for the merchant that is willing to bid or pay the most for the ad slot is how Google, for the last 20 years, has made billions of dollars of revenue, right? Now, if what Google is saying, even by virtue of introducing Gemini, which is Google's own LLM, is, hey, ads don't matter as much. Our goal is to give you the right answer in the right moment of time. There's an existential question of what happens to the concept of the old way of advertising and the old way of upranking. And so there is a kind of theme or sentiment that SEO over time will start to decrease as AEO increases. But one of the things we'll get to on today's webinar is ultimately a lot of the same frameworks and processes through which you upranked on SEO actually can be reused in AEO driven systems as well. So that is the way to kind of think about it. Peter had an interesting question. I wonder how much of that last example is prompt based. For example, consumers searching for a bundle versus just a humidifier. Peter, you're 100% right. There is totally an element of what is the search in place. I will even actually go so far, folks, as to say this. Now, the ChatGPTs of the world have this concept of memory, okay? And so if I ask ChatGPT, why did it recommend Gillette to me specifically, as opposed to a Harry's razor or a Dollar Shave Club razor or any other brand, what it would actually say is, look, there's part of this answer is we objectively believe this to be true. Part of this answer is we believe this to be true for you, Prince, because we know you like metal handles, or we know that you are a fan of Gillette because you purchased Gillette in the past. So there's this entire other angle to all of this, guys, which is the concept of memory and how, as these LLMs learn and remember more and more about you, how that actually instructs the products that it highlights. So there's a few different kind of moving variables and moving pieces in place.
Great.
Awesome.
Follow up for me, Prince. If I'm thinking about AEO optimization and I have existing content, is there a preferred approach? Should I be rewriting my entire website, or should I be adding to the content that already exists?
Okay, great question. And so we actually have a slide for this. So let's go to 2 slides following.
Great.
Let's go one more right after these intros. Okay, so now the big question is, what is it that you can do as a marketer, right? How do you actually make sure that your products, your brands are accurately being represented and accurately showing up? And let's go to the next slide. What we have kind of broken this down to, folks, is, at least for the scope of today's call, and if you have more questions, please always ping me, and happy to chat about this in more depth. There's 3 kind of very material things that brands can start doing that can start moving the needle today for how they show up in these different LLMs. So the first is you can optimize your product listings, right? So on your website are your PDPs, your product descriptions, your pricings, your bundles. Are they optimized and are they easy for these AI systems to crawl and to read? So that's like the first question. The second question is many of these AI systems pull from pieces of metadata. So metadata is what exists at kind of like the Shopify level. This is the stuff that crawlers going through the internet can see and can read, but the human experience might not see and read. Is your metadata set up correctly? So we'll talk a little bit about what's called your robots.txt file, your JSON-LD file, and your schema.org structure. And then the third thing that we'll talk about is content, because at the end of the day, content is still king. And even LLMs do lean on sites like Reddit, like Wikipedia, like news channels to pull and to scrape large parts of content, which is how they educate themselves about these markets. So this is kind of the framework that we'll take on how you can optimize your brand today. Let's go to the next slide, please, Tyler and Hasan. Okay, so step one is how do you optimize your product listings, okay? So let's say, again, we were Canopy, and Canopy has their website of the humidifier, and they have their product listings of their website, their product names, their product descriptions, the price points, things like that. What you can actually do is use another AI system. And so, the small plug that I will do here is we at Pietra, our e-commerce enablement platform, we have recently released a tool called Pietra AI Copilot, which is kind of like a ChatGPT specifically tuned or trained for e-commerce brands. You can access that from pietra.com, pietrastudio.com. Go in, sign up for a free trial, and start using it today. You can actually feed in your entire link to your brand, right? So you can feed in the link to your PDP for your hero product and just say, hey, can you please optimize these for SEO or AEO for ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, etc. And so what our AI system will actually do is rewrite entire swaths of your copy on your product descriptions, product names. We'll talk through pricing, on how to best optimize for top keywords that customers are looking for or searching for across these LLM systems. And the reason that it's able to do that is because the Pietra AI system, at least, also has access to the internet, and so is able to see, hey, what are the top, based on like SEMrush data and things like that, what are the top search results or top queries that people are asking for in this product category or for your product specifically. So the first thing that you want to do is make sure that your product listings are really optimized, not just for humans, but also for these different AI systems, okay? Josie asked this question of like using chatbots inside your sites. Not quite, Josie. So this is basically saying, take a link to your website, right? Whatever your brand is, take a link to it. Go to Pietra Studio, go to the Pietra AI chatbot, which is like a chat GPT specifically for e-commerce, and just say, hey, this is my brand, this is my website. Can you rewrite some of my copy? Can you rewrite some of my product descriptions? And can you restructure my website for my brand to be more LLM friendly? And it will start actually doing that for you. So that's kind of more so what we're describing. A lot of brands are starting to include chatbots inside their website so that customers can kind of talk to a chatbot to enable, a purchasing experience. But this is slightly different than that. Yeah, exactly. That's right, Josie. So you're able to do that directly within Pietra. Does this make sense? Tyler, Hasan, any questions on optimizing product listings as a first step?
It does. And I think it flags an interesting point, which I hear from a lot of folks starting a business for the first time, which is these AI agents are different than chatbots. I think we interact with chatbots most frequently through like customer support chatbots, but these agents are actually working in the background and reading and interacting with content in a way that is far more advanced than maybe the chatbot user experience. So maybe just an additional flag on that.
Totally. I think that is 100% right. So now let's go over to the next slide. So now the second thing to do is to think about not just what is publicly shown, right? So your website listing, all that is what is exposed to the world. The second question is, what is not exposed to the world, what is underneath the scenes, right? That AI systems can see, but that humans cannot necessarily see. And so within every single website, there's 3 files. Think of it as kind of like files or pieces of metadata on every website across the planet that actually other AI systems read. So think about it how, like, if I were to go to one of your guys' brand's website, I would go to getcanopy.co and search for a humidifier. When AI bots crawl your website, they read what is visible, but they also read this metadata. And so robots.txt is basically a file on your website that is accessible. And if you're built on top of Shopify, you can actually edit your robots.txt via Shopify. Or if you work with a web dev agency, chat with them about how to do this. But this is think of it as kind of like the representation of your website for these AI crawlers. And again, very similarly, you can actually have Pietra's system go in and optimize your robots.txt file, your JSON plus LD file, and your schema.org file. So JSON.LD stands for your link directory file. This is actually what shows up when people search for your product today on channels like Google. How it's represented is based on your JSON.LD file. That also matters in what LLMs read and what LLMs see. And so you can basically find your existing robots.txt file, copy it in to the Ask Pietra AI, the e-commerce specific copilot inside of Pietra, and basically say, hey, can you please optimize this to be a bit more LLM optimized? And it will actually go through and it will actually do it for you. And so this is another really powerful thing that we can help with and that can move the needle on making sure. This is specifically useful for how is your product represented on these other channels? Is it the right price point? Is it the right SKU? Is it the right description? Does it link over to the right website? That is in large part controlled and dictated by these 3 files. Awesome. Anne-Marie had a great question. Do we need to be concerned with LLMs deprioritizing copy that they detect was written by an LLM? Great question, Anne-Marie. So the answer is not necessarily. There is an element. What is kind of happening in the world is LLMs are becoming an inevitable part of day-to-day life, right? And for a long time, there was this big thing of like LLM written copy is going to be deprioritized and like human-driven copy will be upranked. I think what everyone is finding now is most copy is being written through some combination of LLMs plus humans. So it's not just one or not just the other. It's a pretty sort of ubiquitous way of working. And so the answer that we've at least seen is generally no, not so much. Try to not make it blatantly obvious, but contribute to the copy as well. But you can have an LLM drive large parts of it, and that should be okay. Cool. Any questions here? Okay, and let's go to the third and final slide, and then we can kind of open this up to some Q&A. So finally, very similar to the SEO world, as many of your guys' marketing agencies have probably told you, content is king, and content still continues to be king. So use LLMs to be thoughtful co-pilots of writing relevant content to what you think people are actually searching for. And the cool part about these AI systems, again, is now you don't just need to write for high intent branded search as an example. So let's say, for example, let's go back to that analogy of a brand that I chatted with just earlier today, who's on the webinar. They make Indian American inspired hair care products, right? And so a great example there is not just trying to write content for high intent branded search topics, but to actually write content about how this product category is really good for folks with certain medical conditions under the bet or the hypothesis that people will increasingly go to ChatGPT, kind of like a physician, and saying, hey, I've been noticing that I've been having, dry spots on my head. What do you suggest that I do, or what could be the root of it? What you ultimately want to rank for, want to try and have surface area to match for, is ChatGPT saying, hey, we believe that this could be because of the shampoo that you're using. Here's a couple of suggestions of better for you shampoos that work really well for these specific use cases. So very similarly, if you're in a product category like skincare, cosmetics, beauty, health, wellness, food, beverage, fitness, functional products, anything like that. The other day I was speaking to a brand that is trying to make better workout clothes for people that are not as constrictive, right? And not that don't constrict blood flow, especially for women when they work out. So anything from leggings to sports bras, things like that. And their entire thing is around ranking for comfortable workout apparel, right? And workout apparel that doesn't leave like marks because they're so tight and so restrictive on women's bodies. So those are the sorts of topics that you want to write about. And again, you can use Pietra's AI system to help you actually generate content and to write about different topics from there. So that is the kind of the core of how it works. Cindy asked a question: does Google pull from ChatGPT and Gemini if they ask the same questions via Google? So Cindy, Gemini is Google's AI system. All of these pull from a variety of sources, of which is a black box. Like, it's almost impossible for me or anyone to answer exactly where they pull from. And they will not say, because the second that they say, that is kind of, when the secret is out, right? Like, these systems are trying to all be as objective as possible. But ultimately, what you can assume is that a lot of the questions people are asking on Google, people will ask in ChatGPT, but they will even go one step kind of earlier in ChatGPT, or at least in the same thread. You can think of users and commerce as kind of having like a journey from symptom to treatment to your specific brand as a treatment. And that's kind of the change in how search and discovery is happening in the modern world. So that's kind of the baseline of it. But with that, folks, that's really all that I have on slides today. So I think, again, the TLDR is for things that are outwardly customer facing, right? Your product listings and your website, optimize those. For things that are metadata for your brand, optimize those. And then content continues to be king. And if you can do these three things and do them consistently well, I can almost guarantee you that you will, over the course of a couple of weeks to a couple of months, start to rank higher for the categories you want to rank higher on. And we're meeting brands that are generating millions of dollars in revenue purely from inbound traffic that's coming via these LLM systems. So there's a really cool and interesting moment in time opportunity right now. It's a new form of search and discovery, kind of like the internet was 10 years ago. This is how the world works. So let's go into a couple of questions. Tyler, Hasan, do you guys want to pick off a couple of questions for us to answer?
Yes, definitely. And a couple of additional audience questions I think we can pick off. Does telling ChatGPT about the brand help at all? Using ChatGPT like as an end user and informing it as a user is likely not going to increase your visibility to other users. Would you agree with that, Prince? I think
Yes,
that's pretty clear.
That is correct. The one question I wonder, Audrey, if what you meant by this was like when generating like the content and the JSON-LD files and things like that, if you're asking, does telling ChatGPT about your brand help it make better product descriptions and write better content, then the answer is definitely yes. But what I would actually encourage genuinely, and I would say this even if I never worked at Pietra for a day of my life, is one of the big advantages of using Pietra's Copilot is we actually integrate with your Shopify. We integrate with your Meta ads. We integrate with your we integrate with your Google, your GA4, so your Google Ad Manager as well. So the Pietra AI system learns about your brand at a more intimate level than generic ChatGPT would be able to. And that's why it's able to help you generate really targeted, really specific content and assets that will be more optimized for your business than anything off the shelf would be able to.
Yeah. Good clarification.
Okay, yes.
Sounds like it was helpful to Aubrey too.
Amazing. Great. Cool. Any other questions here, Tyler, that we want to share, pick off?
Let's see. I think there are a couple of questions around like tracking performance and monitoring whether additional content is working well. Do you have any tips for folks who want to track whether their products are showing up in AI search results, for example?
Yeah, ping me at prince@pietrastudio.com and I'll help you figure out how that happens. And I'll help you do a little bit of a diagnostic for how you rank and the equivalent of kind of like an audit. So send me a message. We'll send out an email right after this and I'll show you how to do that.
Great. And do you have any indication, just another question for me, or case studies, examples, data showing how quickly you can expect to see additional content creation reflected in agentic search?
Yeah, 100%. The answer is after you start doing the right steps, and as soon as a couple of, honestly, even days to weeks, you should start seeing a change in ranking. It takes a few months to properly compound, and especially for things like hero SKUs, product pricing, and things like that. Unfortunately, we're not still yet at a point where these are like CMSs, like content management systems, where you can just go in, edit a few things, and then it immediately propagates. But as soon as weeks, in as quickly or in as compressed of a time frame as weeks, you should be able to start seeing correct answers.
Right. And just in terms of behaviors and actions that the brand can control, what I'm hearing is it's important to put that content out there, publish it, edit it yourself, and post on at a regular cadence, kind of execute on these, similar good practices, right?
That's exactly right. Correct.
Great.
Awesome.
Excellent. Folks, I think we have time for one or two more questions. Any questions are welcome, as always, from the audience.
Cool. So Judy just said, I typed in my merch category in Google, and of course it didn't show up. Then I added the name of my storefront and it showed up. The info will help with that. Yeah, I mean, Judy, what this basically means is just that, like, you don't yet rank high enough for merch is such a wide category that there's so many companies that are trying to rank when you say, let's say, for example, you're launching a new brand that does New York City merch, right? And if you type in NYC merch, there have been 30 years of brands that are trying to launch like New York City Yankees merch and Mets merch and New York Knicks merch and Statue of Liberty merchandise, right? How do you get your brand to specifically rank higher? This is exactly what it helps with, right? The more content you can put out into the world, the more you can find your niche, the more you can optimize your metadata, and the more you can optimize your product listings, the higher of a chance you have of ranking. It won't be all at once, right? Let's say, for example, you have a new take where you are only doing Brooklyn specific merchandise. Maybe you just start there and you start by, trying to rank higher on Brooklyn specific merch. Then you do Long Island specific merch, and then you do, Queens specific merch. And then finally you get to Manhattan merch. And then finally, after, a little bit of time, you can start ranking when someone types in best NYC merch. But that is kind of the step-by-step process that it takes to rank in LLM SEO. Awesome.
Excellent.
Hasan, Tyler, any other last-minute questions?
None from me. Thanks for, as always, leading such an informative session. Audience members, great questions as always. We will continue to host these webinars. We're getting a lot of great feedback that the audience values the content and that you want Pietra to be a valuable source of this information. So we'll be here to provide that for our customers. As always, if you want to get in touch with our team, don't hesitate to contact us at support@pietrastudio.com. That's support@pietrastudio.com. Also, if you have a Pietra account, in the lower right-hand corner, you can always send us a quick chat, and we'll make sure you get in touch with the right person.
And maybe Tyler, as a final question, if folks want to start using Pietra's AI chatbot to start enacting on some of these strategies today, two questions. One, how can they see this deck that we just shared and put together? Will this be sent out after? And then two, what's the best way for people to start using the AI chatbot to start getting ahead on these strategies today?
Yeah, definitely. So we broadcast all of our webinars on Contrast. So if you wanted to watch a recording of the webinar today at the Pietra Get Contrast webpage, that's a great resource. We'll be sending the deck out after this. You can keep an eye out for that email from Hasan. And then secondly, if you are new to Pietra, maybe you have a free account, we offer a free trial at every account level. And with that access, you'll get unlimited usage of the Pietra AI tool. And I tell folks, I do a lot of beginner calls. I do a lot of welcome calls. Just start asking it, your questions. There's no such thing as a too beginner of a question, and it'll provide you the guidance you need.
Cool. Amazing. Alrighty, folks. Well, Hasan, Tyler, thank you so much for co-hosting this as always. For the audience, I hope this was really informative, guys. And it sounds like, just from the messages that the audience, had a great time learning about this. So please give us feedback and tell us what you want to learn more about next. And we will continue to put on these webinars and do these as a resource for the community.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Hope everybody has a great rest of your Thursday, Friday, and weekend coming up.
Thanks to everyone who joined.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye now.